let's take a quick look at the new cards for Northern Realms then. Talk about what I think about them and maybe how they could be used. So first of all, we'll start with the common card. We have the Redanian Agent. Good to see the Redanians finally getting some love here. And it is a human agent, 4 power, 4 provisions, so pretty standard there. It has Veil, which is kind of nice. Then we have Order, boost the unit in your deck by 1, cooldown 2. This looks like a very normal engine type card, but instead of boosting things on the board or doing damage, you're increasing something in your deck. Is deck boosting a viable strategy? It might be after this. We'll have to see. You already have certain cards like the Griffin Witcher's Location can boost stuff in your deck. You have things like Offering and All God, although usually you don't see those in Northern Realms right now. You usually see them in Scoia'tael. And you have other stuff like Archgriffin's a boosting effect that really wants to carry over. Some of the new cards also have synergies with it. So this might be enough. And even if you don't play a full deck boost deck, this is still not a terrible effect, although I think if you're playing it, you're going to be playing a deck boost effect. The nice thing about this is it's a form of carryover, and carryover is extremely strong, and having Veil on your engine is pretty convenient because it can't get locked, but it is only at 4 power, so 4 damage removals will kill it, and without Zeal, you might not get the order off, so that is a potential downside, but I think the effect is overall pretty good, and it has some decent synergies. Even if you're not playing like a deck boost effect, just boosting something like Prince on Sace when you draw it, you can get with a formation duel, is actually just pretty nice on its own. So it has a lot of utility, and I think it'll have some place in Northern Realms. But let's get on to some of the other cards it synergizes with. So Redanian Secret Service, this is the rare card. It's a 1 power 6 provision, but it's going to be well, we'll take a look. So it's a human agent once again, getting some agents in Northern Realms. Zeal Order, purify an allied unit. So, well, I guess we have to finish reading the effect real quick here. If you do not control Redanian Secret Service, when an allied unit gains status, summon self from your deck to its row. So this is a self-thinning card for your deck with a purify on it for your own guys. Now, if we talk about the other self-thinning cards, there are a couple like the Nausicaa Brigade, the one that comes out of your deck if you've lost a round and you play a card, something like that. You have other ones like that. They don't always see play. Usually it's the ones that have tempo value that do. Although Siege Master, whatever it is, the other Northern Realms one, is also a 5, but it brings a cooldown effect with it. But it has to be in your hand. So that's interesting. If that sees play, well, this one is the question. The nice thing about that one, though, is that it helps you set up for your crews and stuff. And then you can draw it with Melidoli and things. Does this have a similar effect? It is worth another provision, so that's worth keeping in mind. If this was 5, I'd say probably sees play quite a bit. But at a 6, I'm not super sure. The ability to purify an ally is really nice, though, if you're playing this. Because when you're playing a lot of decks, right, you have like the 1 Peller or something, your 1 Purify. And then if you get locked more than that, you can't deal with it, and some decks don't even run the Purify. Just having the Purify available is really good, because if you, just say you play your card, I don't know, say you play your Reinforced Ballista, and they lock it, the locking it means you've gained a status, and this comes out of the deck, which allows you to purify it. That is very convenient. So, against decks that don't want to be locked, maybe you do play this. It's very interesting. The question I have is it worth it for 6 provisions? If this was a 5, I would say probably sees play. At 6, I'm not super sure, but I think it's not bad. It does have synergies with the next card we'll get to, which probably helps it out quite a bit. But yeah, when you gain a lock, coming out to purify a lock is really nice. If it could purify any unit, it would also be very good. But as it is, I think this might see some experimentation with. I will be trying it out for sure. I'm curious if there's any other ways we could make it work. I mean, just having a lock protection is pretty nice against stuff like Renfrey Nilfgaard, where they play a bunch of locks. So it's not terrible in that. You don't get both of them out at once, which is worth knowing, though, Barry, because you do not control Redanian Secret Service. When you gain a status, it comes out of your deck. So if you have one on the board, you won't get the second one out, which means it doesn't double thin immediately, right? Unless they kill it. But you probably get one of these round 1, one of these round 2. I don't know. Let me know what you think about this one. This one's interesting. Going on to the epic card, we have the Borg. This is a location, it's 9 provisions, has resilience. Sacred Flame still does it, but this one does. Anyway, deploy, summon a unit from your deck to this row, lock it and remove its boost. Order, boost an allied unit by 0, increase the value by the amount of boost that was removed. So basically what you're doing here is you're pulling out one of your boosted units. Theoretically, it doesn't have to be a boosted unit, and you're locking it, and then removing its boost, and the order is just reapplying the boost to something else, or potentially the same thing. This is very interesting in combination with the Redanian Secret Service, right? So you can play this, summon a unit of your choice from your deck, and remove its boost. And then you lock it, right? And when it gets locked, the Redanian Secret Service comes out of your deck, and you can purify that lock, because that's got a Zeal on it. Now, there is something I want to mention here. Before we get too far into it, there's definitely going to be a meme deck you can make with this. Kind of like the Tyrnalia, right? You know the Tyrnalia deck where they put out like 50 turns of Frost, and then the next round they apply the Tyrnalia order, you get 50 turns of Frost, and they just play like 3 Foglets, Ancient Foglets. You could do something similar here, because if you just spend all your time boosting like an Archgriffin in your deck, or the new card we'll get to next. If you spend all your time boosting that one card, you can pull it out of your deck, remove all the boosts, and then this has resilience, so the next round you can use the order to like apply, let's say you apply plus 100 as the order of the Borg. There's definitely a meme deck you can make there. I'm not sure how good it actually is, but that's very interesting. Just on its own, before we get into the actual card and its potential uses other than that. So, one thing to note is you can get any unit from your deck. It won't have its deploy effect, and it gets locked. There's some units with negative effects, mostly Berengar that I can think of here, where you would actually want the lock. Most of the time you want to remove the lock. Probably going to play this with Redanian Secret Service. If you're playing one, you're probably playing both. If you're playing this, you're probably playing both. And the order has a lot of effects other than just the fact you can carry points over. As carrying points over is very, very good, right? So you can play this, get whatever you want out of your deck, remove its boost. If it has a lot of boosts, you might just, let's just use Archgriffin for an example. So you pull out Archgriffin and it has like 50 points of boosts on it. You're only getting a 6 on the board, right? Because this will remove the boosts. But you're still getting some tempo with the play, and you have a very powerful carryover card. So that is interesting. Even if it's just like plus 10. Just like plus 10 on a resilience, it's just really good. So I see a lot of applications for this. It does go very tall, though. So you're going to want last say with this. Because if you just go like plus 100 on this order in round 3, for example, and they just have a Spores, an Agony, a Heat Wave. And they can also Heat Wave this, too, which is the most the scariest thing if you're going to try and make decks like these. If they just Heat Wave the Tyrnalia, they just Heat Wave this, you lose all your carryover. That being said, the effect's still pretty good, and if you're just removing some boosts, it might not be that bad. And there are several things that really benefit from getting boosted from an order like this. Prince on Sace, for example, you play a melee, you just put a plus, even just like plus 5 on Sace, it's kind of insane, because he just duels for 9, you can remove something, and you can even duel bigger than that. So I think he will have a lot of synergy with this, and well, he already does with deck boosting, right? You draw, people even now just play Temple and literally just draw on Sace and boost him by like 9. So I think this has a lot of potential and a lot of different uses, which is very interesting. One of the best uses, though, might be with the card coming up. So we'll go over and check that out real quick here. And that's going to be Sigismund Dijkstra. Again, he's a 4 for 12, just like Sigi was when he was released. The last Sigi that played 2 cards in Syndicate. But he's a human agent aristocrat. It's finally time we got him in Northern Realms. I think we all expect this at some point. Now, he has order, play a boosted unit from your deck. So that has a lot of potential by itself. And he has 1 in deck. Whenever this unit receives a boost from other abilities, boost self by the same amount. Now, this has a lot of upside, and it goes very, very well with the Borg. So, say you have your Redanian Agent, the first guy we looked at, and you get like 3 boosts on him, he gets 6 boost. Say you're playing Offering, you play Offerings, you play All God. That's 2, 2, and 2. That's like an extra 12 boost on this guy. So the boosts really add up. I think you're going to really want to keep the Redanian Agent alive for this type of deck, so it's good they have Veil. But even if you just boost him by like 10, just say you boost him by the 6 and the 6 from your offerings and your All God, that's still pretty good. And then when you have him on the board, just orders to play a boosted unit from your deck. This doesn't have Zeal, so you almost certainly want to have Inspired Zeal in this deck. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want Inspired Zeal here for this. The only thing I can think of is that you're going to play something like Vess or the Siege Support, which gives Zeal itself, but I don't think it's consistent enough. But the order is also very strong, so this has insane tempo potential. This could be one of the biggest finishers in the game. So what you do is you go Sigi. You've been boosting him the game, right? Let's just say he's got an extra. Say you boosted him by 10. He's at 24 because he boosted himself by 10 too. Then he's at 24. You play him. You Inspired Zeal him. You play whatever else is your biggest boosted unit from your deck. Say it's a 10, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's a 34-point finisher, and that's just assuming you had not that big of a second boosted card. Because it's worth mentioning, you can always Erland to boost your entire deck. Then you can play any card from your deck with him, which is also kind of relevant. What I suspect we might see most is you go Sigismund Dijkstra, Inspired Zeal, Order, Prince on Sace, Duel. And you can have that worth so many points. Like, that's very, very hard to beat in a short round. So there's a lot of potential for this deck. I think it will be very interesting to try out. The only thing is there has to be enough deck boosting for it to be viable. And is there? I think there might be. I'm also curious if you just spam extra Redanian Agents to do this. Either way, this is a very interesting thing we can do. There was already sort of deck boosting with Erland, but I guess Vesemir too. Vesemir boosts your whole deck too. But he's not a witch. Dijkstra's not a witcher, so he wouldn't get affected by that. But I think it's interesting. Right now, the only thing we use deck boosting for is really in Scoia'tael, where you have your offerings boosting the Brocklon Sentinels. And sometimes, well, in Northern Realms, you play the Griffin Witcher location in Melitoli, and then you just put the 3 points of boost on her. But that's also good for this. It's worth noting his effect's only while he's in the deck, so you can't like draw him off Griffin Witcher with the Adrenaline and boost him that way. So here there are limitations, but there's just so much potential in an order to play a boosted unit from your deck. It plays a second card and it has a way to make itself really big. There's just so much potential in that I think it will at least be somewhat playable in a deck. And overall, I think the new Northern Realms cards, I don't know if they'll be the strongest Northern Realms deck, which is, I think, what I said about Traveling Priestess. But I think they'll have a place, and I think we can make a deck with this, which will be very fun. There's so much synergy between Sigismund and the Drakenborg, and their Redanian Secret Service, and their Redanian Agent, that, I mean, if you think about it, it's 2, 4, 5, 6 cards. You could probably find the rest somewhere else, and have a pretty decent deck. It'd also be, I think, one of the biggest finishers Northern Realms has. Right now, you can do stuff like the Knight scenario. If you go like 3-round Knight scenario, it's a huge amount of points with like Maiden Shield or something. But just by himself, Sigismund Dijkstra gives you such a big finisher potential that I think he'll find a place in Northern Realms, even if the rest of the cards don't. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. We'll check out the other cards later. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. That'll be it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And you can check out some more videos over here. And thanks for watching.